Hello, everybody. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish and French and Japanese to high schoolers out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. The sun has finally come out. I've written a couple books and I just love to think about teaching. So if you want to talk to me, help me brainstorm ideas, I can be reached at studio-nemo.com. I can be reached at the Duolingo Educators Network or at the Minecraft Education Ambassadors. And in this series, I've been deeply examining the Harvard Project Zero thinking routines, which are some really great thinking routines, and I'm adapting them, tweaking them a little bit to work in a world language classroom. And today we're going to talk about See, Think, Wonder. And again, the thinking routines are located for free, pz.harvard.edu/thinking-routines. And since Harvard is free, why shouldn't I be also? Give it back to the world. So See, Think, Wonder is part of the core thinking routines, but Harvard Project Zero likes it so much that they also put it in exploring art, images, and objects, and they also put it in introducing and exploring ideas. So I'm only going to talk about it the one time. So their subtitle for this is A Routine for Exploring Works of Art and Other Interesting Things, because there's a lot of interesting things we do in our neck of the woods, right? So you want to translate into your target language their three core questions. What do you see? What do you think about that? What does it make you wonder? And of course, the more you say this, the more the students will pick up on it and they'll internalize those questions. Now, maybe you want to teach grammar explicitly. You've got a pop-up grammar lesson going on. You've decided to go with the grammar translation method. You're using techniques such as the audiolingual method, and you're looking at transformation drills, or you're just working right out of your textbook, and so you're teaching grammar explicitly. And again, I think this is wonderful, teaching grammar explicitly, because I teach high schoolers, and by golly, high schoolers can use pattern recognition, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But if I can glom onto their pattern recognition, I can teach them one thing, and that gets like 20 things at once, because they're just looking for the pattern. So I find some grammar pattern, maybe a verb conjugation, maybe how plurals are made, maybe embedded clauses. I'm going to show you an example of embedded clauses in a moment. The sky's the limit, as long as there's some discernible pattern in the grammar, and I write a ton of sentences or phrases that use the pattern, and then I show that to the students. Sometimes I just project it on the board. Most of the time, though, I print it up, and then I pass out colored pencils to the students. So the students, I'm encouraging them to underline, draw circles around things, draw arrows to other things. Hopefully the students are color coding. The more I can get them to make those connections and the patterns, the quicker they'll learn. So I have the students work silently for a few minutes. That's very important, because otherwise one student is doing all the heavy cognitive lifting and everyone else is coasting. Okay, I want them all to be using that brain muscle. So I let them work silently for a few minutes. Maybe I have to shush them, and then they can compare with partners, and then we can discuss whole class. So for an example, I'm teaching verbs to Spanish class. This is the third week of school. I can teach all the AR, IR, and ER verbs all in one fell swoop. Now the textbook wants me to do it one verb at a time. Here's a verb. Wait a few weeks. Here's another verb. Or the textbook will introduce AR verbs, but it only introduces the yo form and the do form. And then you have to wait another chapter before you get el and ellos, or, it doesn't even give you all of them. It doesn't even introduce vosotros at all, but that's another story. At any rate, I can teach the students all the verb forms all in one fell swoop, and it takes a week because of pattern recognition. So I give them this, and I have them look for patterns. Second day of school, French classes. I can teach them the subject pronouns, and I do it in a way that I learned in college in linguistics classes, which is basically, this is a glorified Sudoku puzzle. Okay, the students are figuring out what here corresponds to what there, and then how does it apply to this one? Because we have a word in common here. We have call and call. So which word here is call? And, I used names that would be easy to figure out, so it's much easier for them because, this is the first time they've ever done a logic puzzle like this. But super easy to look for patterns, and the students retain it because they've worked really hard to figure out the patterns. This is for second or maybe third year Japanese, teaching embedded clauses. And this one I did get out of my linguistics textbook almost exactly. It's just the way embedded clauses work in Japanese. Super easy, but you gotta know to look for it. The embedded clause is going to work just like an adjective right in front of the noun. So this is a fun lesson to do. When you're teaching literature, culture, history, art, food, whatever you want to teach, one way I do this is I like to show some artwork, and I give the students some sentence frames. Okay, here's the sentence frames. I see, I think, I wonder, and here's their word bank of things they might choose to talk about. So, the students always, they focus on the red eyes, the weird ears, the fact that she's giant and he's little. This is a preparation for watching the movie. I explain that she's the master and he's a pet. Okay, the aliens have enslaved humans. And so they've got their word bank, and they can start working with the words that they're going to see in the movie. But what I really love to do with this is I love to show dumb, goofy pictures. Like those crazy cat pictures where a cat is jumping and somebody took a photograph at just the right moment so it looks like the cat is flying. Or maybe pictures with bad perspective where somebody's in the foreground and somebody's in the background, so it looks like she's a giant and he's little. Or badly photoshopped stuff. I mean, there's so many advertisements out there where whoever was doing the photoshopping wasn't looking at the whole picture and they made the arms a little too long. Or this is like pictures taken just before disaster. I mean, whatever, you could Google stuff and come up with great stuff. But I just have a ball with this stuff. The students are so engaged with it because it's silly and they're making up a dumb story about the picture. Okay, so the first sentence is a very solid, what do you see? And then the next solid is, how do you feel about that? What are your emotions? So the students can talk about their emotions. And for Spanish class, that's great because it gets them using estar very early on. And then they write something silly about the picture. I wonder if the cat is going to fly away. I wonder if she's going to sue the guy who threw the ball, whatever the wonder is. But again, you need that, the word bank. And the word bank can be a living word bank. Okay, as the students ask me things, then I'll just scribble it on the board next to it and we'll talk about it. And they have to ask me in the target language. They have to ask me, como dit-on, como se dice, ego de nanto imasu ka, or nihon de nanto imasu ka, whatever. They have to ask me in the target language for me to answer in the target language. In our next episode, we're going to talk about think, pair, share, which is everyone's favorite. I probably don't even need to explain this one at all because we use it constantly. Hope to see you next time.